Keep singing.
No, I can't. That's it. Bring Carter up here.
And what is going on, guys? This is Brett with Pop Culture Crisis, and I am here today with my host, Miracle.
Don't forget to change it.
Go.
Hi, you guys. I had way too much caffeine for one day.
And Brian is here again today.
Hello. That's it.
Oh.
Just hello.
Just hello.
And we've also got a special guest today, Hannah Claire.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hannah Claire actually writes a bunch of the articles for timcast.com, so she gets to judge these articles with us today, which is going to be a lot of fun. Yesterday, I spent about half the episode saying, where is the copy editor on this crap?
Tim says that about my articles, so I'm not sure I'm in a position to judge. He has said that live on the show, but okay.
Where is the copy editor? He's like, oh, crap, am I the copy editor?
I have an overpriced English degree. I'm ready to judge all of these things.
Well, isn't your mom also a writer?
Yeah, my mom and dad were both journalists. They've done a couple different things with their careers. But yeah, it kind of runs in the blood, apparently, but spelling does not.
It's okay, Grammarly, and then autocorrect has you.
Honestly, I would just like to give a shout out to Chris Carr. He is making me look like a professional when I am clearly not, and I hope he recovers from COVID extremely quickly. I need him back.
Is Grammarly a website, or did you just use Grammarly like with?
No, it's a
an
website.
extension.
Oh,
It's a website and an extension that you can download to your browser, so it can autocorrect everything for you, all the way to grammar, to spelling, any punctuation errors that you have. Welcome to Grammarly.
we live life
we
on easy
sponsored?
mode.
No,
What
I
is
wish.
This episode was sponsored today by Grammarly. We have life on easy mode. You guys, how old? Oh, I would never dream of asking a woman her age.
Correct. I
I
feel like I scared all the boys here. I was like, you can't ask people their age.
Well,
I'm not even that old.
when-
Maybe I am.
when
I'm 100 years old. Thank you for asking.
okay, when Ivory Hecker was here, I like unabashedly asked her in the car, and she answered without really thinking about it. But then, like, I thought about it 20 minutes later, and I'm like, why did I do that?
Well, I think the thing is, like, if you ask a woman her age, it should be a compliment, right? Like,
Yeah.
she has nothing to be ashamed of. Sure. But then, like, if you hesitate, like, you looked at me and hesitated, and I'm like, do I look worse today?
No,
Have I aged since the last time I saw you? Man.
I was just minding
But
my manners.
I appreciate that, and I respect it.
I may hate feminism, but
Chivalry is alive and well.
It is right here at Timcast. Chivalry is alive and well. So we've got a bunch of different articles. And speaking of chivalry, the first one is probably going to be my favorite today. And it was inspired by Nick, who's like, we should talk more about video games. And as somebody I'm more of a vintage video game player. I collect old vintage video game systems. So new video games don't interest me other than the shitstorm that is the video game industry. Kind of like comics. The industry is an absolute disaster.
Why do you say that? What about it is a disaster?
They're doing a lot of woke things. Like yesterday, we talked about GTA getting rid of one of the designs for their characters that was wearing Confederate flag.
Oh, I really only followed the like Batman thing. Now the son of Superman is bisexual or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So are there like alternative viewpoints in the video game industry that are like introducing new content?
Video games, as far as I can tell, still do pretty well with the content. Certain like The Last of Us kind of became a disaster in the new game. But in general, I'd like to think that most of the storytelling is it's much better than what you're getting from your average TV series these days. But this is more connected to just the industry at large, and that's Blizzard Entertainment. And the reason I mentioned chivalry before, it says Activision Blizzard to introduce zero tolerance harassment policy. My first question is, shouldn't there have already been a zero tolerance harassment policy with most of these companies?
Well, the gaming industry is dominated by males, so
Hadn't occurred to them yet. And
Yeah.
they're like, wait a minute.
Well, they talk about it in this article. So that's one of the things. We talked a lot about percentages yesterday, and the UCLA's social science department doing like literally demographic down to the percentage point as far as Hollywood. Like they want complete parity across all. It's never going to be, reality would never be that clean, but they want racial and gender parity across all mediums, despite the fact that a television show about cops is going to automatically feature more men than it is women, and a television show about, I don't know, nurses would probably feature more women than it would men.
Filipino males. They need more Filipino males to make it accurate.
There you go. I don't know what that means, but we're gonna just scoot right past that one over into this article, which
Sorry, I had
yes.
too much caffeine.
This is from IGN. It's from Matt Purslow, and IGN is not my favorite news source for these, but the article makes the point. It says, Activision Blizzard is currently facing serious ongoing allegations of harassment and mistreatment of marginalized workers. To learn more, please visit our timeline as well as an in-depth report on the subject. But it says, the announcement comes as part of a letter from Activision Blizzard CEO Bob Kotick, who also outlined a further 4 changes that the company will be implementing. These include a promised 50% increase in the percentage of women and non-binary people employed by the company, an investment in diversity, a waiving of the required arbitration of sexual harassment and discrimination claims, increased visibility on pay equity, and quarterly progress updates. Kotick also stated that he'll take a significant pay cut until the company's problems are resolved.
They're waiving arbitration on sexual harassment.
That was the first thing that I thought. I was like, my guess is what they're saying is like, you don't even get arbitration, you're just fired. Like, there is no mediation of the dispute.
They could, although it'd be interesting if they were like, we're not even going to talk about it. We just get to make a decision. Both of you are gone. Only this guy gets to say, only she gets to say. Like, that actually is strangely ambiguous.
Yep.
I feel like having a set arbitration process would give them more protection as a company. But maybe it's more woke to not have an arbitration, although they're not like I said, still gray area. They could just be leaving like it's up to our discretion, which means they could leave potentially, harassers employed.
Let me ask you this question. How long has Activision and Blizzard been around for?
Oh, I wouldn't be able
30
to.
years.
20 or 30 years?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
I wouldn't have guessed. Activision.
I'm
20,
trying
yeah.
to think what actually changed. Did they happen to hire a chief diversity officer?
I think this was did you hear the story? Was this the story about the Bill Cosby suite in the hotel? Miracle, do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
Okay. We're not gonna, that would be, I don't want to like comment it because that could have been enough. That just shows you what a crap storm the industry is, because I don't know which company it was that had the Bill Cosby suite where basically creepy shit was happening in the studio, in the suite for this hotel between workers. And to me, it sounded more like
I'd be laughing.
young adults acting out than it did harassment and stuff. But
Company gets hotel,
Yeah.
problems ensue. It doesn't even matter. That's any industry, no?
that's that's what happens at all of the whenever they have conventions in these industries, they're always a disaster because
I think in any industry, though, I mean, that's like a neutral space where people feel off their guard. Like when you're in a workplace, there are certain expectations for behavior. Anyways,
even here at where we work, there's it's an informal work environment, but there's still a strong expectation that you behave in a certain way. So it's weird that these companies that are these massive corporations, you'd think it would be even more obvious that you can't act out.
It's almost automatic.
Yeah, like here, like I get it in a way because it's an informal workspace, and even though everyone is very professional here, you understand why somebody might not take it that way at first. Like if they weren't familiar with working in an informal workspace.
do you think it's like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? Like people in these big companies that are really interested in these games and they're really intricately involved and working really hard go to these neutral spaces, hotels, and think like, well, it's kind of like a big party. It's a big celebration. The things I do here don't matter. They're not reflective of me as an employee because this is like something separate from what I experience at work.
Maybe.
It is possible, but also a very dangerous idea because everything you do will always be tied back to the company you work for.
For sure.
Yeah.
Especially if they're paying for your hotel room to be there. I mean, that just transfers the responsibility of the company to this new space.
Yep, absolutely.
As a guy, never take that gamble.
No,
I think
Ever.
everyone should just
Yeah,
stay
everyone
home.
should.
Never go anywhere.
Yeah.
Never.
Sorry,
What?
horrible advice.
You just sound like a boomer right there.
Thank goodness.
Hannah
The
Claire.
boomers built this country, I'll have you know, young lady.
Hannah Claire is our resident in-house boomer.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
true. Even though she's only older than me by a couple of years, it's not that big of a gap between our ages.
Boomer's a lifestyle, you know?
You live the boomer life. You're not necessarily a boomer.
But yeah, isn't Blizzard known for like treating their employees really badly?
Yeah. Well.
It's a very informal work environment.
okay.
Maybe they should make everyone have a dress code. They should be like, you show up here in a coat and tie, and every lady wear a lady suit, and that will
What's
change
a
things.
lady
Negative,
suit?
gray
Like
overalls.
a pantsuit. Ask Hillary Clinton. You know what I'm
Ew.
talking about? No, but like, what if that's the thing? What if instead of being like a fun, I feel like video game companies, this is not my realm of expertise, but they're similar to tech companies like Google or different places that are like, we've got ping pong and snacks or whatever. Like, what if they take the opposite approach and say, like, we are a formal environment? Like, this is serious work that we are doing. There's a natural creativity to the process, and maybe having more, aesthetic standards, like visual reminders that they are in a workplace would help their harassment.
That could be. What do you think?
So not necessarily the harassment, but I'm thinking more along the lines of I don't think it would have the same effect that you would hope for. So immediately enacting something more strict might just turn people away.
You should phase it in.
Yeah, definitely phase it in.
Like polos first, and then they're like, and suits on Wednesdays. And then it's like suits Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays.
It's hard to tell. I mean,
This is a hypothetical.
Oh,
Please don't take me
absolutely.
seriously.
yeah, no. We're all just talking here, but
Chastity belts. Chastity belts.
That's funny.
All week. Okay, so we're going to go on because the part that I found interesting was the part about the percentages here. It says Kotick promised to increase the percentage of women and non-binary people in the Activision workforce by 50% within 5 years. No specifics are given as to how this will be achieved, although Kotick stated that each franchise team, business unit, and functional area will be expected to have plans to fill this ambition. So if they want it to be 50% women and non-binary, that's still less than the 50% men, because it'll be 50% will have to be split between the women and the non-binary. So bigotry.
Yeah, seriously.
so what if the men just identify as women?
Well,
You
done.
can.
Can you
It's
imagine?
2021.
Yeah, can you imagine the business? Because they said like each department has to come up with their own plan, and one of them is like, okay, you have to say that you don't know what you are. That will help us with the numbers.
Not even that. Just write it down as, we have 50 women here.
I'm an attack helicopter. Oh.
Joe, you are now Josephina.
Yeah, what if we all just say like we prefer not to disclose, and then it doesn't matter if it's 50%,
That's right.
whichever.
It's why this
Finding
stuff.
loopholes here.
It's why this stuff is so interesting because it's really it's kind of like a lot of the policies we see. They're unenforceable. Like not really. It's all virtue signaling in a lot of ways.
Well, and I wonder if that would help their business long term, right? Like we talked about before when you were mentioning like a show that has, it's about medical, it's got nurses in it, will have more women. A show about cops would have more men. In these industries, I can imagine that certain departments attract certain, certain genders more than others. I mean, I, at one point in my life, worked as a fundraiser, and fundraising is a female-dominated field. I have worked in all-female offices in several different organizations, or majority female offices.
HR departments.
HR departments are another one. I mean, to a certain extent, like, are these actually serving your clientele? Are you getting high-quality candidates by saying, well, we have to throw out every single one that's a man because we haven't met our quotas yet? It seems sort of ridiculous to me, but I also quit all my all-female offices, so that's another story.
I wonder why.
It was great, and I love sisterhood. It's very powerful.
Don't lie to yourself.
Shh. Keep them in the dark, Miracle.
I found the word
It's
in
okay.
the word marginalized up there interesting too. Like, are they saying that women are marginalized in their workplace? And then what connotates that actual terminology? Like, what makes them marginalized, other than the fact that they're not white cisgendered men?
And could you expand marginalized to mean like, well, you can hire if you can't meet your quotas, we'll make an exception if you hire like a refugee man. You know what I mean? Someone who's experienced something that makes them what we would call marginalized in a different sense, even though it might have nothing to do with your industry.
He can be white. He just has to be a refugee from South Africa.
If he can prove that he's experienced significant trauma, you can hire him. Please make him tell you all of his deep personal experiences, and then we'll decide. Ignore that resume or any actual portfolio of work. Brian, do you do HR? I feel like you're HR experienced.
I do. Yes, absolutely, I am.
Have you had conversations like this with people? Like, we don't have enough of this type of person in our office?
Absolutely not, and thank God.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of the DIE, the diversity, equity, inclusion, and initiatives are basically this.
Right, but it's not necessary for government contracting, in my experience.
No, Joe Biden said it is. He just released his gender equality memo last Friday. He says that this is the thing that we need to prioritize as a country. Forget your wages and unemployment and your supply chain issues. This is it. I'm being totally serious. This is something he released last week.
It's a good thing I quit my job like the Thursday before he sent that
What
out.
would you have done if they were like, okay, Joe Biden says we have to have more gender equality in the workplace?
So he can mandate anything he wants, but as long as it's not in their RFPs or their requests for proposals, requests for quotes, that they actually have a contract clause in their RFP that states we must have all employees that work under you vaccinated, or they must be this many people, women, other people trans, they give you percentages and stuff. It just doesn't matter to me.
It's completely unenforceable.
Unenforceable until they start writing it into
That's what I'm saying. Most of these policies, especially within the workplace, are unenforceable. You can't actually. My favorite here is the part about pay equity. Pay equity will be reported annually, so they literally want everybody to make the same amount of money too, no matter how you could the guy getting the coffee or the marginalized person getting the coffee will have to make the same amount of money as lead coder because.
Is that true, or is it just like if you had two coffee gophers, they would have to make the same amount? Is that to fight like gender pay discrepancies among the same roles?
I'm being extremely hyperbolic.
Okay.
But you get what I'm saying. Like just these going down these rabbit holes.
It's gonna be like no one's coding anymore. They're just hire me to be your intern, and now you have to pay me.
Well, here's another thing. It's like the government always wants the lowest price, technically acceptable, but the lowest price. So, you'd be competing for wages that are subpar for living in this area. It's just to me, it's not going to work.
I did find the Cosby Suite story, so it was. I was right. I was right that this is the Cosby Suite story. So it is from this company. Basically, it says, and we'll move on to a new topic from here. But this was.
Do you want to show the audience what you're talking about?
Yes, we need to go to. I'm not sure if they can. I don't know if that's video. Okay, so they had a picture of Bill Cosby in the suite. Wow, that is creepy. Since news broke last week of widespread allegations of sexual harassment and discrimination at Activision Blizzard via a legal complaint from the state of California, many top male developers there, both current and former, have responded with shock and dismay. Shocking, I say. But while many claim they weren't aware of the problematic frat boy culture, leading to accusations of sexual harassment and assault at the hands of male Blizzard employees, comments and images shared on social media painted a different picture. Based on photographs and screenshots of Facebook posts obtained by from Kotaku, so take it with a grain of salt. It's clear that people beyond, I don't know how to pronounce that last name, Alex Afrasaibi, the man named in the lawsuit and a longtime World of Warcraft developer, were aware of the Cosby Suite mentioned in the lawsuit. That was apparently a nickname for Afrasaibi's BlizzardCon 2013 hotel room and seemingly a reference to the name of a previously... it was a reference to Bill Cosby being a rapist. Can we say?
Speaking about, you can say rapist, but
he was released, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was released. And fun fact about Bill Cosby, my friend worked in that jail that Cosby was locked up with, and he dealt with Bill Cosby. And another thing about Bill Cosby, he's a nasty man. He doesn't wash his hands after he uses the bathroom, so.
He caused COVID.
He caused it.
Can I just say, if I could change one thing right now, it would be this comparison that we always hear. It's targeted towards white men, but it's like frat boy culture, frat men mentality. I get that like party culture has like a bad rap and everything like that, but like to be totally honest, I was Greek in college, and like some of the people who looked out for me most were members of fraternities, and I just think that like it is an example of a way that we can demonize one class of people over and over and over and over again. I remember at my school, our like women's center educator, I don't know if you remember this, but there was that story about the University of Virginia frat house that like raped a girl, and it was in Rolling Stone. The director of the women's center at my university, went to every sorority's weekly meeting and read them the story, led them in discussion about how fraternity members are potentially dangerous and like this could be harmful and you need to be careful. And it was extremely uncomfortable. Obviously, rape is a very serious allegation. And then it turned out the whole thing was made up. No fact checker could verify. The girl who made the accusation didn't even go to the school. Did the Women's Education Center director come back? No. So we repeatedly promote this idea that like people who do dangerous things are presumably white and wealthy, when it doesn't sound like that's the case. It sounds like this guy had too much power and too much access. He thinks he's cool. He is not. He's probably creepy. I don't know. I have no idea. But I hate it when the media relies on this idea of frat boy mentality to describe a dangerous situation that leaves people confused. They're unable to identify the red flags.
Yeah.
Because if any young girl were to go to this and be like, but it's not fraternity members, like they're all just these nice coders. Like, no, you're putting yourself in a bad position. Don't go to that hotel room.
Exactly. Like, for me, I get upset about it because I have friends who are a part of Greek life, and like my friend was in a fraternity, and I asked him questions about all of that. He said no, like legit, we talk about what not to do and like how it's going to affect us and the image of that fraternity too. Same thing with the sororities, and I'm surprised that you're a part of a sorority. Is it true that like
undercover?
Yeah, like for me, like my friends, like they join a sorority and they were complaining like they can't like outright quit the sorority. They need to pay a fee to quit.
Every sorority has different rules. Mine, you could just stop paying dues and you were out. But
Okay, well that's nice.
You actually have to pay dues to be.
Yeah,
but
you
they
have
go
to pay.
towards things. I mean, every school is different. That's not what this article is about. We can
Sorry.
discuss Greek life all day long. I
we're-
love that you are surprised that I was in it. That's often the response I get. But it was part of the, predominant social structure of the college I went to. And to be honest, like anthropologically, I'm from the Northeast. I have immigrant parents. I was like, what is this? Let's do it. And I'm really grateful for the experience. It's not a all negative or all positive thing. But I think the constant use of the term frat culture is inaccurate. And like I said before, ultimately distracts people from learning what signs of like dangerous behavior is.
It's because they want to blame something on someone. That's why nobody wants to take responsibility for their own shit anymore.
No, I definitely think that's true.
Where did the term rape culture come from then?
It came like mid 2000s, right?
I think it's an early 2000s term. I'm not sure.
But that's got
I
a
mean, it
basis
has
in college.
it's all college. It's like it's college party culture, and it's this idea that like I think probably just generally fraternities, but young kids, especially because the American drinking age is it's 21, so you have these 18 to 21 year olds who are all hanging out together. Some have access to alcohol, others do not. They're all partying. Not all of them. If you go to college and no party, that's cool, but it leads to like date rape culture, I think is where it started.
One of the biggest issues that I have still to this day and age, and it's going to make me sound awful, is I dislike this idea that men and women can drink together, but the man is the one who's responsible if something happens. That really bugs me. In an age where we have empowered women to tell them that they can do anything that they want, that they are capable of achieving anything, the lack of culpability, of responsibility for your own actions there, that the guy, that they could both, he took advantage of me. We were both drunk, but I've heard that before.
There's always
We were
two
both
to
drunk
tangle.
and he took advantage of me. No, you were both drunk and you consented to an action together. You have to be willing to take responsibility for your own actions, and it is not his job to be able to turn into a parent at some inopportune moment. Like, I know this makes me sound awful.
No, it doesn't
But
make you sound awful. What
Yeah.
I'm thinking is, I think sometimes it comes from, and anyone could disagree with me on this, is like the idea that men can drink more alcohol. So if a woman...
No, there's so many guys that are lightweight.
It's totally inconsistent, but the idea, the myth, the assumption is that like, if Brian and I were both to go out and start drinking, because I'm smaller than he is, no offense, I hope you're not offended,
Are you offended by that?
would
quite true.
I don't want to like body shame you or anything like that, or that I would be at a point of incapacitation before he would, and so in that sense, I still think it's wrong, but I think that's where my theory is that's where it comes from, that like women are to the point of being blacked out or like unable to consent before men are, and so therefore they're like
which
is gross.
That stereotype that women are more fragile than men, that's why it comes into play. But speaking about like how you hate how women can't take charge of rape allegations too, like you remember when Cardi B like no like hear me out like how like Cardi B like date rape like all those men and rob them, but she's not taking responsibility for it because it's empowering, because she's a woman. She's taking
Never
back
heard that story.
Well, basically what happened was when she was a stripper, she would take these men back to the hotel and they thought they were going to have a fun time with her. But no, what she did was she put roofies into their drinks and they were knocked out, but she didn't touch them. That's what her side of the story is. I didn't touch them. We didn't do anything, but I robbed them blind. I took all their money, their wallets and credit cards.
And you
Can't
drugged
he
them.
Yeah. Can't they sue for like a failure to deliver? Isn't there like a business term for like when you're like supposed to like complete something as part of your
Breach of
contract?
contract.
Breach of
Yeah.
contract. Aren't they
We-
like? No, I'm
we
just
had
kidding.
a-
I'm not promoting that. As
We
something-
had an oral agreement that she was
Disavow.
going to.
Disavow. I didn't want to start down this road.
Okay.
What you can sue strippers for?
We have gotten far off topic today.
Sorry.
I don't know
'Cause
how
you
we
asked
got from Blizzard to
Sorry, this is like
This-
my MO. I cannot like.
This is my fault. I did not moderate this very well. But the idea is generally that Blizzard is going to try and parody their way to a better working environment, which is never going to. I just find hard to believe that will ever actually.
Is
come
that
to-
what we were
come to
talking
pass.
about?
That
Yeah.
was the original topic.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's-
why Brian's
My
like judging
apologies.
us.
No, it's
Like-
just like, how do I interject, you
Yep.
know?
Like right now, I'm just like, what the hell is going on?
Sorry.
We've gotten off topic here.
Sorry, I just
Um,
really don't like Cardi B as a person because she won't own up to that. Like everybody praises her, and I'm like, no, she's a terrible person too.
It's still pop culture. So you know, even though it's not what I was planning on talking about,
I know.
it still works.
Yeah,
Go
it
with
still
the
works.
flow, you know.
And
Yeah.
Just don't rape people and don't touch them.
Well, I actually think the thing that you're saying is like. Sorry, I know you want to move on, but I don't. But I want to talk about this.
She's in charge today. Hannah
No.
Claire is in charge today.
No, I'm sorry. No, do it.
Nope.
Okay. Anyway, no, just kidding. The only thing that I would say about that is like we just don't teach. My personal opinion is that we don't teach safety or like you have to teach safety in a gendered way, right? Like if Miracle and I go to a bar and she's like, "This boy's cute," like I'm not gonna be like, "Okay, see you later. Have a great time," right? Because I would be worried. You too, Brian. If you want to go off with a girl. Well, the thing is, like, just naturally, my instinct is to be like, okay, but who are you talking to? Like, is this guy okay? Like, we don't know him. You have approached a stranger in a bar.
Are you throwing
Whereas,
shade
like-
at me?
Yes.
Are you throwing shade at me? He's throwing
Yes.
shade at me, and this stink bug is about to
I'm
attack me.
ignoring this. I'm making an excellent
It's
point.
it's that.
But
It's,
the thing
it's
is-
the meme. It's the meme of teach your girls to be safe. More like don't teach your boys to rape.
No, but, like, the thing is,
you
like,
have to teach both. Teach the boys to
I
be
would
gentlemen.
also not want, like, my son or my brother or, like, any of you guys, like, in a dangerous neighborhood to walk alone at night because you could get jumped. Like, there are times when the responsibility for personal safety is different based on your gender. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's just obvious. But the longer we talk about, like, no, it's fine. You can do anything. You can do anything. Like, you are not teaching people to how to look out for dangerous situations for their friends, depending on who they are.
Yeah.
Hollywood would have you believe that for every pound you are under 100 pounds is another Navy SEAL that you can beat up if you're a woman. It's
Oh, that's dumb.
Sounds
really?
good.
Where is this at?
I don't want to beat up a Navy SEAL. That seems like a lot to
you
prove
know, Brian knows
myself.
what I'm talking about. He
Well,
reacted.
there's a, I guess a couple years back, there was a feminist who went to the Middle East to try to, I don't know, preach for peace or something like that. She ended up getting her head cut off.
I remember that. Fantastic. Now that we've covered this lovely.
That was because of colonialism.
Oh, yes.
No, it reminds me of Lindsay Lohan walking up to like this Middle Eastern family. It's like a mom, and she's like, "No, like it's okay. I'm gonna hold your kid," and she's trying to pull this kid away from the mom, and then the mom was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And she like punched Lindsay Lohan in the eye.
Well,
She's
yeah.
like, "Don't touch my kid," and like Lindsay Lohan straight up like started making racist noises, like you know how they do like that H with the ha. I can't do it because it sounds unappealing on the mic, but like she did that to the mom, and the mom was like deeply offended, and she was like, "Nope, you're in my country, equal rights, bitch."
I'm offended
Also,
on
like-
Lindsay Lohan's behalf because me and her share a birthday. So
Do you really?
Yes,
When's
we
your
do.
birthday?
July 2nd.
What else happens on July 2nd? Is it hard to like be so close to July 4th? Do you feel like you get overshadowed or just get a lot of patriotic presents?
I'm just very patriotic. I measure everything in bald eagles in 9mm. So
Oh,
nice.
it's
How metric of you.
I'll think. Yeah, well, it's the only time I use the metric system.
Oh, okay.
Of course, like a true American. But it's the same
Developed
birthday
in
as Larry
Germany.
David as well, and everybody loves Larry David. If anybody here watches Curb
I
Your
love those
Enthusiasm.
memes that'll be like, sinkhole opened up on the highway about 4 washing machines wide. It's like Americans will do anything to avoid using the electric system.
There's,
It's
so there's
amazing.
that's not true. I have a half eighth in my wallet and a 9mm on my hip, and yes, we
funny.
do use it. We just use it for stuff that's actually fun, not for boring stuff like
You can't make us.
You cannot make us do that.
It's okay. I just choose to be dumb. I
What?
choose to be
That has
dumb.
nothing to do with the metric system.
Nope. I choose to be dumb. It's
She's like, I just don't measure stuff.
Here's a fun
Everything
fact.
looks big.
Because the patriarchy told you couldn't. You guys see what you've done to her?
So you know that the Apollo program, the entire spaceship was actually measured out in millimeters, and then they went back to
Why
convert
millimeters?
everything back into inches
Oh.
because it actually makes sense.
Because
to-
America.
Yeah, exactly.
America.
But we went through an extra step, and that possibly could have been the reason why Apollo 13 didn't do so well.
No way.
That is communist propaganda, ladies and gentlemen.
I know nothing of what you're talking about.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to another one. Did you know that Clownfish TV has like a pop culture site now? Not Pirates
Yeah.
and Princesses, but they have it's called D-Res.
I think they mentioned it once, but I didn't pay attention to it.
I just found it recently, and I thought it would be fun to bring up, especially since you're here and
That-
you do actual journalism, Hannah Claire.
Hold
Actual journalism.
That was I don't mean I'm just saying the people would tend to look at pop culture journalism as more frivolous, I guess. But to me,
I love watching pop culture stuff because I feel like people forget you measure the changes in culture in tiny inches.
Yep.
And that includes like what TV shows are on the air. I just covered a story today about Twix and Doritos, the commercials that they're putting out. People are always waiting for these big announcements, and that's how we know culture has changed. But it's the tiny, tiny victories or, allowances that we give things. And that's why I think actually watching what Hollywood is doing or watching what TV content is producing is really important. I got a lot of negative comments on a story. I know I'm cutting you off. I'm really sorry.
No,
but I'm
you're
just here to
good.
talk about myself. I got a lot of I wrote this story about how Grimes. Thank you. See, it's useful. She did this Vogue getting ready for the Met Gala thing, and she said that she has a 2-year-old with Elon Musk, and she said that her baby, who she calls X, doesn't call her mom, and she had some really interesting comments about how she didn't, about relating to motherhood. But I just thought this idea that like she didn't feel like she was an appropriate mother, or like not appropriate, she didn't feel like it was totally how she saw herself, and that
So she's acting like the cool mom where she's like, oh, my kids don't even call me mom. They call me Grimes.
kind of, it's super weird. He calls her Emily, which is her legal name.
Oh.
And I don't know. There's something really interesting about it. So I wrote it for the site. I liked it. Chris Carr sent it in, so no one can get mad at me. And I got a bunch of comments on it that were like, why is this even on the news site?
Well,
And first up, it's Friday, and I write what I want.
today's
but-
Thursday, actually.
This was like several weeks
Oh,
ago.
okay.
This is back when the Met Gala was happening. But I just thought it was so interesting that like, because it's about a celebrity, about this Canadian pop singer, that it was automatically dismissed as being interesting or relevant. I don't know.
Well, also, you have to remember, plug in for timcast.com. You can get any of your news and any Timcast related content on there. But you have to remember.
From me.
Yep. Hannah Claire writes all of it.
A fair portion of it.
yeah. But you have to remember, like, most of our audience members, they're kind of like on the older side. They're older than all of us. So I do get like a lot of hate emails, like complaining about like articles that don't make sense, or how Tim like talks about pop culture related things. So
Shouldn't they rely on us as their barometer of like what is worth paying attention to in pop culture?
well, that's true, but they're a little bit older, so like for them, they don't see there's a point to it.
That's ageist.
Yeah, I'm very ageist here.
She is. She's. I one of the reasons that I didn't want to. I kind of tell her a lot. I'm like, I didn't want to do this podcast because I just don't like being on camera. But I love this. These topics are stuff that I'm extremely passionate about, because I do believe that the reason that the culture war has spun so far in the directions that it has is because they refuse to look at this stuff as important when all they want to argue about policy, and they want to argue about what Nancy Pelosi's doing. But you know what? We've got people on the younger side of the employees, you know, here at this company, younger employees. They don't give a crap what Nancy Pelosi's doing. They give a crap what Grimes is doing. And when there's pictures of Grimes reading the Communist Manifesto, that speaks to a lady who can marry a billionaire or have a kid with a billionaire and read a book about communism and think that that's cool. Like there is relevancy there. So though a lot of these topics, I don't want to be like the rage bait group.
No, you're good.
But I want it to be that this stuff does matter. Like I talk a lot about. I don't watch anything newer as far as I'll watch television shows that are relevant to stuff we talk about here, but I don't watch the stuff that I watch that I actually like. Nothing is newer than 2014 or 2015.
That's
because
true.
when you mentioned earlier, you said that they're waiting for these large scale announcements for cultural shifts. It was like Ghostbusters 2016, and then after that everything was feminist.
What about the biggest news, Brandon Laundrie, where that was like a big news and nobody knew who they were. There were a bunch of YouTubers that did van life, but then like the girlfriend disappeared, now the boyfriend disappeared. That's like
which actually speaks to the nation's interest in true crime. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good.
I told her. I said we need to bring back our fascination with serial killers because that brought this country together. Everyone
really
loves.
has. I mean, think about how many of the top iTunes performing podcasts are actually true crime. I was just gonna say, the New York Times has an arts and leisure section. They have a culture section. Like these are things that other people are measuring. Like for Timcast or for you guys to talk about them too is just as relevant as anywhere else. And in fact, we shouldn't leave it so that only really super old establishment, news outlets are talking about these things because, we can't trust them.
Nope.
Yeah.
And they interject their own opinions into that, which fall in line.
Yeah. Or I think of like all the times I've read like a Vogue article and it's like, oh, you should get this thing, but it's actually sponsored by that company. So trust us, we are the voices on fashion.
The thing that got me into a lot of this is like there's a reason why every Disney movie gets a fantastic rating because Disney owns like 3/4 of the companies that do the reviews.
Yeah.
So
same with Pfizer.
Exactly.
And on the inverse, Disney does a lot of Broadway musicals now, and they used to get thrashed by the critics. If it was a Disney musical, no matter how well the actors did, they were just harder on them because they didn't really want Disney's corporate influence there. Yeah. I can't say if that's the same thing. I haven't really paid attention to it in a long time, but I remember being like, yeah, man, like, even though this could be the launch of like Brian's musical career, should he be in a Disney movie, he is already offended. He's already offended the critics. Or a Disney musical.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I wanted to point out when Brett was talking about like he wanted to talk more about pop culture related things, his light made him glow a little bit brighter, which kind of fascinated me. Maybe this is a sign that
this is Shane Cashman's grandfather telling us you're on the right track.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
episode 2 of Tales of the Inverted World, and I highly recommend everyone listen to it.
Thank you for that nice
like
plug.
I haven't listened to it 18 million times.
I love it.
Link in the description.
Yep, you can find it on timcast.com.
So this was an article from Geeky at it's called Derez, which I'm actually.
Are you guys familiar with Clownfish TV?
Okay.
When you guys were saying like this happened, I looked at Brian like, what is happening?
Yeah. So Clownfish TV is similar to what we're doing, but it's a couple. So Neon is the husband and Geeky is the wife, and they have their own pop culture section.
They do YouTube videos by topic. They don't do a podcast. They do individual videos. They don't ever put themselves on camera. They just have little art designs of each person down in the corner. It's very cool. But it's interesting because you get a pretty level-headed perspective from two people who have kids and families, but grew up loving these pop culture establishment franchises like He-Man. They talk about
the new He-Man almost got canceled because it's too masculine.
I don't believe that for a second. No. I mean, I don't believe that that's why it would almost be canceled. There is no such thing as super masculine in today's Hollywood culture at all.
They love
unless it's women.
There.
They
Hollywood's super into masculinity.
When it's the women portraying the masculine roles, yes, they do.
Well, this is He-Man.
I don't want to do spoilers for the. Okay, but the article is basically talking about the bias in these sites, and like you mentioned earlier, Hannah, about
Hannah Claire.
Dude, her legal
you can't have me on your show, and then well, that's true. We can't go into that here. That's private information.
They're talking about the slant that these companies have with these articles, because they do like I try to pick 2 articles from a site that I wouldn't normally like an IGN or Slate, and then I try to pick 2 from something like Bleeding Fool or Bounding into Comics, which I know will have something more along the lines of what I might agree with, simply because not because I agree with them, but because you know that those topics won't even end up on the other sites because the bias is so heavy.
Sure.
So it just says fairy tales used to start with phrases like "once upon a time," but anymore they begin. Geeky copy editor. But anymore they begin with name calling and finger pointing. I'm not talking about the storybooks. I'm talking about the recent trend with pop culture news sites. Not long ago, articles were focused more on facts than agenda. Of course, they didn't mean that there wasn't agenda, but the journalists would at least try to focus on the facts first and opinion second. Sadly, that type of journalism has died out, and at the same time, people were allowed to. At the same time, man, they're writing these articles too fast. Sadly,
I sympathize with them. I'm never going to critique anyone's copywriting anymore.
I think I'm doing it because it's making me sound dumber than I already am when I'm reading it.
No.
So,
But it's like me,
No,
where
have
I
high
can't
standards.
English.
Sadly, that
Too
type
hard
of
on
journalism died out at the same time they were allowed to have different opinions. Lately, I see more articles from these journalists that focus on division, name-calling, and blaming fanboys, even going so far as beginning an article with an attack instead of the actual information. Facts become secondary to the set narrative. Today, it seems that shaming people into agreeing is more important than focusing on actual facts. Most people are good people, and they don't want to be called racist or misogynist or Nazis simply because they don't like a character in a movie, a story arc in a television show. And like we were saying earlier, that sounds hyperbolic, but it's not. If you've seen anybody who watched The Last Jedi, which is a Star Wars franchise, a lot of people see that as the beginning of the culture war because of how the director treated the fans online. Because he was super awful to people who were like, we just love old school Star Wars. We don't want these characters diminished and treated like afterthoughts. And when they killed off Luke Skywalker in that movie, people saw that as an attack on their childhood in a way. And instead of taking these concerns to heart, what they did is they called them entitled white cis males, even though it's not like all the people who love Star Wars are white cis males. You can't have something that touched the world the way Star Wars did and have it only affect one group of people.
Also, that being a white cis male is an insult. Like, that's how far we've come. I'm sorry to both of you. Like, that's not okay.
So, to me, it's just these things are looked at as easy ways of talking down to people, and people who just have concerns about properties are now labeled. You're no longer just a fan of something who disagrees with the way they're taking a franchise. You're now a bad person. And
It's tribalism at its finest.
Yeah. You remember when I was talking about fandoms? Like, basically a lot of people hate fandoms because of this, where they're like, no, my ship didn't become canon, or no, you didn't do it how I wrote it. Like that one scary movie or thriller, the one where the lady kidnapped the author and like she tied him against the bed. Yes, thank you.
Flogged him. Yep. That's a good one.
Where she's like, you didn't write how I wanted it because you killed the character that I like. Now I'm gonna break your ankles.
I think that's good. Like, more power to you. Feminism, all right?
Tumblrism. Shippers are the creepiest. That's the creepiest stuff because of how overboard they go with it.
Milo Pony suffered from it. I talk about My Little Pony a little bit too much on this show.
Luckily, I know nothing about My Little Pony.
Now I know what to get you for Christmas.
Can you get me like a little cat toy? Like,
Can
it's
we
like,
do this? I'm not gonna talk about this here. I want to do a Timcast Secret Santa. I feel like that would be hilarious.
you got to get it approved by Allison.
That's more than effort that I can put into this project. I'm an ideas person. Everyone else can just carry this out.
Yeah.
I love that. I always want
Let's
to be
talk later then.
I want to be the ideas guy. I don't want to actually execute anything. I just want to come up with the
Oh, the light
ideas.
stopped making you glow. I like that glowy effect.
Now my
Just get him some highlighter.
my shoulders slump and everything. Okay. The point of that article is basically just that hyperpolarization exists in every aspect of American society now, not just in politics. It's in your fandoms for your leisure and entertainment. It's at your workplace, in your HR department. So you can't escape it.
I'm waiting for them
Especially
to
if
put
they
it
won't
in.
let you arbitrate. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, but I'm waiting for them to do that with like insurance and then cars. Like, you remember that one article where they're complaining about that one car company where they had a advertisement and it had like a little baby girl and she's like leaning on the car and they're like, oh my god, they're sexualizing a baby girl. She's like holding a banana and wearing sunglasses and she's acting like an adult. How dare you?
I know nothing of this story.
Well, it was like a couple of years ago, but like I forgot what car company, and I thought it was fine. I thought it was cute because it's like a little baby and
I'm not looking that up online either.
No.
I'm not using any of those those keywords. Sorry.
No,
we're not gonna watch it.
But I thought it was cute because, like, you know how kids like to mimic adults.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was cute because, like, they're trying to send a message like this car is safe for your family, like doing that. But people took it a whole new step by putting wokeism into it and go like, you're over sexualizing a baby girl.
I don't know if that's wokeism or just rationality.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, for me, they're like, well, car companies always sexualize women. Why are you sexualizing a baby now?
Don't you wish?
Yeah,
Sorry,
sorry, go ahead.
No,
No.
you go.
No. I'm just, I kind of find this to be, one of the things that hit home.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the other day, there's been a story that came out about like the mayor of some town attending a school a recital. The whole bunch of boys that dressed up as girls and started grinding up on the adults.
Tim talked about it.
Yeah.
Today, and
Dude, it's
no.
so annoying. And like, I wanted
The
to
Kentucky high school.
I think
Something
so.
like that. So here's the thing. So if we look back in history, because I think that's something that we need to do here, is that we need to look back to really see when these ideas first started coming out into the mainstream. Because it did, like you said, it's these small articles, these small kind of cultural shifts. It's so microscopic at first, but they grow to be insane. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing these massive just displays of filth, basically. But it started way before, maybe even past 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
If you look at Sanford and Son, if you look at all these different shows that came out during the 70s, all these issues that we're seeing nowadays, quote unquote issues, they were brought up back then.
Yeah.
And they've now festered to the point where they became this gross display of inhumanity, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're seeing the payout of like, I mean, in some ways you could argue like years of like, well, let's just introduce this edgy topic. Let's just see
Edgy,
how
yeah.
people respond. Oh, they're responding well. Maybe we should have a little bit more of that. Maybe we should have a little bit more of that. Maybe we should have a ton of that. And I feel like that is sort of the strange thing about a media dominated culture, which is that like we don't really know who's in charge of influencing culture directly. And like you said, it started years and years and years and years ago. And I think in some ways that's what conservatives have a hard time with. It's that like they are sort of like, let's retreat away from everyone else and not talking and not being aware of what's being produced. They are missing all the tiny moments, all the tiny inches they gave up. And that has led to the way culture is today.
And that's right.
It didn't start yesterday. This didn't come from nowhere. It's why people can say it wasn't like this when I grew up. I know. That's because it subtly changed over time.
Yep.
I was going to say to your point that the car commercial thing, I get frustrated when it's like, this is bad. Everything's bad. I don't like that. Whatever. Like, the car commercial, maybe that was weird. Maybe that was a poor choice on their marketing editors, whoever was like, this is a good commercial, don't you think? Like when Kylie Jenner got in trouble for the Pepsi thing. Like, do you guys watch The Office? There's an episode where like Dwight has to like pitch to a female potential customer or client, and all the women in office are like, oh no, he's so bad with women, don't send him. And he's trying to describe something and he's being super weird. And Meredith Palmer just leans in, it's one of my favorite lines of the show, and goes, boo, weird. I feel like I wish we could just respond to certain things. Like, they don't have to be this huge debate and discussion. Just look at that car commercial and go, boo, weird.
Yeah. Well, like how you're talking about, like, we need to go back in time and look at media or like movies that cause this. Like I think Tim and also the Daily Wire talk about.
I'd be very careful about using the term "caused this" for movies and television.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The argument of I just mean that for about 20 years they said video games cause violence, and there's no evidence that actually
it
backs
doesn't.
that
I
backs that up. Now, that's not the same thing as introducing new lifestyles and stuff into the
Or
public sphere.
influencing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
but I do worry that one of the things I always bring up is like with these things is Christian rock. Like you can make all the Christian rock you want, but nobody's going to listen to it because conservatives just don't culture well. They don't. Like it's just
Come
one
on,
of those.
DJ Jesus doesn't ring a bell.
I don't even.
No,
now I want to know who
is that
DJ
real?
Jesus is.
I wish it was. It was.
See?
That's Miracle's stage name now.
Like
DJ
we
Did you just try to gaslight us?
No.
I'm looking up
She's
DJ
being
Jesus.
such a zoomer. We don't even know what's going on. DJ, is he on TikTok?
No, but
Sounds like a TikToker.
speaking about like DJ Jesus, I know I create it on the fly, but there's a lot of people like that create like these Bible kind of names, like Lil Lucifer or Fur. Because like for him, a lot of people said, oh, he even said it himself in one of the concerts that he's a reincarnation of the devil. And like people are like, this is dumb. And they're like, no, just say his name really quick and it sounds like Lucifer. And I'm like, oh wow, that's a quickie. Like you haven't seen like a
The name that he picked for himself sounds like the thing that he thinks he is
Yeah.
invoked from.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Shocking.
it was so dumb. I was like, you never been to a rock concert where legit like they cut themselves open? People
I have not, to be fair.
Didn't they start closing down the mental institutions back in the 70s?
That's
They kind of did, like California, like
They
the
kind
whole
of did.
Brian
No,
solved
they
it.
did.
Brian has solved the culture problem.
yeah, because
put
like,
them back in the asylums.
well, California, like the whole state of California is just becoming like a homeless and insane asylum because they don't have any more of like the mental hospitals like hold them anymore because they closed them all down. And then I worry about like the younger generations, especially like I grew up in Bakersfield and like a few miles away, like my schools, like my local school district was nearby a jailhouse, and they sent all their prisoners to that jailhouse. So
well, I'm sorry. I didn't
no,
mean to
you're
cut you
good.
off. Like I don't want to open, mental institutions up again because they're poorly funded and poorly ran before, and
Yeah.
it was just a breeding ground of
If you want to see how
bad
bad
actor.
that is, go look at our nursing home facilities in America
Oh.
right now.
I know. So
We are getting off topic again.
not the answer.
We are getting off
But I
topic
like this
again.
topic.
I do too. I'm trying to find the middle ground here.
I think we should
because-
set like a timer, and after there's like a certain
No,
buzzer.
yeah, I think that the point you guys were all making is generally just that culture shifts in small increments, and that there's
Yeah, that's
really
basically what we're saying.
Yeah. Speaking about culture shifts.
Welcome to my thesis, by the way.
Speaking about
No, I'd love to,
culture
except I
shifts.
won't go to university.
No, you're good. Speaking about culture shifts, have you seen the new Buzz Lightyear?
I actually have seen it. Did either of you two watch the new Buzz Lightyear trailer for? I don't know if you guys are Toy Story fans.
Oh,
Sure,
let me just look
I'm a
it up real
classic.
quick.
You have a friend in me.
Yeah, it's classic.
got a friend.
I just don't know what it is. Can I see it?
I'm gonna
Yeah,
look it up
so
right
it's
now.
basically
Okay.
a new movie called Lightyear, and it's going to talk about Buzz Lightyear.
Can I go look at his phone, or would I be
Well,
disruptive
no,
to the setup?
the article is not about that, but the idea is just that they're not bringing Tim Allen back to
Oh,
play.
damn you.
They're not bringing Tim Allen back
Who's
to
Tim
play
Allen?
Buzz.
He's the
Oh.
voice of Buzz Lightyear. He's the
Why?
guy that's also the main actor of Last Man Standing, and he's very conservative, and Hollywood does not like him for that.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
He's
yeah, I
he's
know
the guy.
this.
He's the guy from Home Improvement.
That guy's animated.
He was also the Santa Claus.
Yeah, you remember Santa Claus
right.
movies?
Yep, I've seen Buzz Lightyear.
She's like, I know who Buzz Lightyear
Brian
is.
is showing
Who
me
the hell is
pictures
Tim
of
Allen?
Buzz Lightyear, and I'm like, who is this actor?
He got
It's animated.
he got popped for like $20,000 of cocaine in like the 70s and
That was the
arrested.
70s. Drugs are bad.
My
Drugs are
guess is
bad, disavow.
that was like his like example, or that was like his reason. He's like, it's the 70s. Who cares? But he ended up being a very powerful force in Hollywood for a long time. Everyone's seen the Santa Claus.
You're talking about Tim Allen?
Yeah.
He was popped for cocaine?
Yeah.
That's
What?
fake news. Prove it right now.
No, I could.
What?
We're gonna do this on the fly.
Flag
here,
on the
ladies
play.
and-
I just want to know. Is that a
Yep.
football term? Did I
Yep.
just do that correctly?
You got that correct.
Yes. I went to college in Texas, guys. I learned something.
Texas A&M.
No, I went to Southern Methodist University in Dallas. SMU, go
sorry.
Stangs. We're 7-0 right now. Oh my gosh, I went to so many football games when I was. We're just gonna vamp while he
Sure.
looks this up. I went to so many football games as an undergraduate. I think we had a losing season every year I was in school. And then I think for like 2 years afterwards, but like my first year we were awful. I think we only beat University of Connecticut, and then the next year we beat like 2 teams, and then we beat like 3, but still always losing.
Yeah.
And now they're 7-0, and I live too far away, and it's COVID, and I want to go to a game really badly, but I haven't been able to.
I found the article here. Tim Allen was arrested in 1978 and imprisoned for drug trafficking. Following his release from prison in 1981, he returned to comedy. He moved to Los Angeles and became a regular performer at the Comedy Store. He began to do stand-up appearances on late-night talk shows, which led to Home Improvement, if you've ever seen Home Improvement.
Yeah, I know that one.
I maybe you had a crush on Jonathan Taylor Thomas when you
Who?
were young. Yeah, you're too young for that. No,
Or maybe I just wasn't in pop culture as a child.
it's, I think you might be a little young for Jonathan to know who
Oh my god, he thinks I'm so young.
Yeah, I learned my lesson earlier. I did not ask more age questions. But the idea is basically that he became a very popular actor in Hollywood, and that was fine. Drug conviction, everything. But as soon as they found out that he was a conservative, then it became a problem.
He,
Yeah.
like Dog the Bounty Hunter, was arrested and turned his life around.
Exactly. Even if you get an Article 15 or you're discharged from the Air Force. Not happening here, but you could still
Until
make
COVID.
Mm-hmm.
There was they haven't said what, I mean, I haven't followed it in a little while, but there was legislation introduced to make sure that military members who choose not to get vaccinated aren't dishonorably discharged because they'll lose their benefits.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
nice.
I'm sorry, that has nothing to do with Tim Allen, but
But
I just feel like occasionally I have to drop things in that like I have been thinking about and I would like other people to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much to unpack here.
But
So why are we talking about Tim Allen? I'm sorry.
Because well, the idea was just that they're making a movie about Buzz Lightyear, which he voiced the character
And
of.
he can't be in it
and
because he's conservative.
I actually don't know if I necessarily think that that's an issue here. I brought it up because I don't know if that might be the opinion of anyone else here. But basically, the idea is that he's in the movie. He's not playing Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story. He's playing the character Buzz Lightyear, who the
the
character
astronaut.
was actually based on. So the Lightyear of the Lightyear movie that's coming out is the real life person that the Buzz Lightyear toy from the Toy Story movie was based on.
Who
But
is
why
not Buzz Aldridge? Buzz
No.
Aldridge?
Aldrin,
Aldrin?
not
Guys,
Aldrin.
I'm doing my
I'm,
best.
I'm sorry, Buzz Aldrin is his name?
Isn't
Yeah.
he an astronaut?
Yeah,
Yes,
he's a
exactly.
real life-
And
He's Apollo 11
can
guy.
someone just like Buzz Lightyear is not based off of him. He's based off of
I'm
No,
sure
some
there's
other guy.
parts.
No,
of
no,
it.
The
he's
name is,
based-
I'm sure.
The name is based off the real guy, but the movie, it's actually about a different person. But why are they doing it now? Because Buzz Lightyear did have a spin-off series after that movie.
Yeah, they mention it here.
Yeah, because the
did
spin-off.
Tim Allen do the voice in that?
Yeah. No, not for the TV series.
He's
No.
probably just they couldn't afford him for the
Nope.
TV show.
For the TV show, basically, it was
Or they
Buzz
didn't want
Lightyear Adventures, or Buzz Light, or it's called Lightyear also. But basically, what happens is he's going on adventures, and like it's not voiced by Tim Allen because again, like how Brett said, it's like budget, but it wasn't bad. I remember watching it on Disney cartoons, afternoons. I mean, and like. But I don't understand why they're making it now. I know there was like rumors about it, but the CGI looks so scary.
I liked it. I liked the. I mean, it doesn't feel like Toy Story, but it does feel like it's its own. Maybe the goal is to make it its own separate property. What I hope for, and what they did is they cast Chris Evans
As the voice?
as the voice.
And that one's Captain America.
Yes, it's Captain America.
Very good pop culture reference. That was good. That was good.
Yeah, you get a cookie.
I know what's going on, guys.
She's like, I know my
I'm
pop
hip.
culture.
I'm 100 years old and I'm up to date.
But yeah, the reason why I say it's scary because look at the animation for Buzz Light. Well, is it Buzz Lightyear or is it just called Lightyear?
It's called Lightyear.
Okay, well, I mean the character. Is his name Buzz?
Buzz Lightyear.
Okay. Well, he looks really weird. Like he looks like what you would do if you drew Buzz Lightyear as a real person. And
That's
it's like
probably what they did, though, right?
they did, and I don't like how it looks, but like the other characters that they drew look fine. It's just that one character that freaks me out.
He doesn't look that bad.
I don't think it looks that bad.
It doesn't, but like it kind of freaks me out because like nobody looks like a thumb like that.
Oh.
So it's basically the article's
But do you
just
like
talking
how
about the.
Mr. Incredible looks? Doesn't he sort of look
Yeah,
like
he looks just like
a
this.
foot?
Oh, okay. I saw him in a different angle. Never mind. It's fine. I retract my.
No, don't back down. You have to. You have to double down and just tell these men not to question you. Did feminism teach us nothing? Me nothing.
Well, this is not gambling. If it was gambling, I would be lying through my teeth and win everybody's money here.
No, I don't think so.
She's
Are we
good.
doing this tomorrow?
Do you want to play today?
No, you guys want to play without Chris Carr? Oh my
Well,
god.
he can't come here. He has to quarantine because of COVID.
Oh
We
my
gotta
gosh.
practice.
You don't think the guy who originated Timcast Poker Nights should be here? At least like Skype him in. Don't be so rude.
That is.
Yeah, Miracle is actually very good at poker. I'm terrible.
Oh,
But also I don't know how it works and I don't really understand.
Yeah.
watch a YouTube video on
that
it.
could be a why. The fact that you don't know how it works. That could
Well,
be why.
like
you're-
I don't know how
really
it works
not.
either. Like Joey B. Tunes. Do you guys remember our guest? His name is.
we are getting off topic
Oh, sorry.
again, ladies
Dad's
and
mad.
gentlemen.
Dad's mad.
We are getting off topic. This has nothing to do with.
I love you too, Brett.
It's
I love it how he switches it when I say that and smile at the end.
it's still on there.
Why?
So I just don't know. I brought it up initially because I thought it might have to do with him being a conservative, but I think also it's partly because he's playing. If it's a younger, not only it's not technically the same character because it's not the toy, it's supposed to be the real person, but also that if the character's younger, theoretically their voice would sound different. Like you wouldn't sound the same at 20 as you do at 50.
Well, you remember that movie Gemini with Will Smith? They had a CGI younger version of Will Smith, but it's still voiced by Will Smith. So wouldn't you think it's the same concept? If it's the same character but younger, you will still have the same voice.
But it's not the same character. It's not the toy. It
that's
is the
true.
real person.
What if they just purchased a bunch of what's the show, Home Improvement episodes, when Tim Allen was younger, and then cut together the script based on audio recordings of his voice at that time. That way they haven't hired him, they've hired Home Improvement.
Well, he's
to
not
voice.
dead. I know what you're talking about.
I'm not
but
talking about no.
Actually, it would
wonder.
probably
They
that
could
cost.
buy the rights
that way
to it.
they're
Yeah.
not actively.
That's a syndicated TV show. It probably cost more to do that than
Look,
it would.
if they want to stay accurate and also avoid paying Tim Allen, I feel like that's what they should do.
But
I
they
will
don't.
He would still
settle
get
for
the-
nothing
They're
would-
less.
just
he
gonna
would still get the
destroy another
royalties.
childhood hero.
Yeah.
He would still get the royalties off that.
He would, but like I know what you're talking about because they do that with dead celebrities where they use a CGI version of them. But
Deep fakes.
Yeah.
We're about to
Carrie
enter the age
Fisher.
where like now they're just hiring all the old actors and making them look young again in movies. So like nobody's even going to get any jobs because they're going to be using Morgan Freeman until he's 200 years old.
Yes.
hey, Morgan Freeman is God. We talked about this yesterday.
He is. We got
Time to get a watch.
it's 1:02. We've got you guys want
It's
to do one more
1:02?
topic? It's 1:02. An hour and 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. I was like, I swear I came up here after one. We going backwards?
We got you guys want to do one more topic?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Wait, what time is it though?
It's 2:00.
Okay, thank you.
All right. This one is interesting because this one might require more. It's we were talking earlier about government and all these things with pushing radical agendas, and this is from Ethan Van Sciver, speculated on a live stream about DC and Marvel Comics being funded by the government to push radical gender and sexuality theory. Now, I don't know if I buy that, but it is an interesting thing to consider when you think about how much power these media companies actually
Can you read me
hold.
the headline again? I'm sorry.
Ethan Van Sciver speculates Marvel and DC Comics are being funded by the government to push radical gender and sexuality ideology.
Probably not this government. Probably Chinese.
Also, like, do they actually have to be funded, or do they just have to be like,
Subsidized.
oh my gosh, you know where we could make money if we stick a pride flag on this?
It's hard to say. They do make a lot of money on their own.
Yeah, but like, it looks like everyone is doing it, so we will also do it. Is the mentality?
Yeah.
So the article starts out with it says the creator of Cyberfrog and former DC Comics artist Ethan Van Sciver believes that Marvel and DC Comics push to include radical gender and sexuality ideology into their comics as being funded by the government. Van Sciver's speculation came in a recent video reacting to a Screen Rant article claiming that a new Wolverine antagonist wants to be the hypermasculine Marvel character's lover.
Ew. No, Wolverine is straight. Does anybody realize that he's like ultimately straight?
You're the one who told me that sexuality is a spectrum, Miracle.
Me?
If
Yes.
Wolverine is not
I
straight,
did.
how am I ever gonna find a man? Like, No, I'm just kidding.
It's kind of like it's the death of like actual like you can't be hyper masculine anymore. It's not.
Well,
allowed.
the only hyper masculine men in the media, like if they're going to be hyper masculine, they have to be gay to compensate.
Ooh.
And I feel like that's kind of crazy.
I'm actually okay with that. It's better than treating gay people as stereotypes, which is always more offensive to me.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think there should be lots of depictions of like, you know, there should be diversity in thought. We don't want to have stale characters repeated all the time. I just mean that, like, I don't know. I don't want to live in a world where, like, it becomes formulaic in its own way. Like, oh, it's a buff superhero. He must also have a boyfriend. And, like, it'd be fine to have one or two or whatever. Like, I'm not going to be a bigot about it. But, like, we already know that Wolverine is not gay. So why do you have to retroactively make him gay?
Exactly.
Well, his son, I forgot what the son's name is. I believe he was gay, but then they killed off that character.
Did they get brought up on hate crime charges?
No.
Hate crime charge. Okay, so it says, if you haven't been following what's been happening at Marvel and DC Comics, the two publishing companies have made huge editorial decisions to make many of their characters homosexual, bisexual, transgender, or some other LGBTQ plus identity. DC Comics made headlines by retconning Batman's sidekick Robin, the Tim Drake version, into being attracted to dudes. Fantastic writing here on this article. Into dudes. The character's lengthy history of dating females was thrown out the window in Batman Urban Legends number 6, where Drake accepts a request to go on a romantic date with a male friend named Bernard. After making Tim Drake attracted to men, they also made headlines by having the new Superman attracted to another man despite being previously attracted to women, also aging him up, as we know, which was pointless. Superman will show his sexual attraction to a pink-haired Jay Nakamura in Tom Taylor's Superman, son of Kal-El number 5. DC Comics confirmed in a blog post earlier this month, writing just like his father before him, John Kent has fallen for a reporter. After initially striking up a friendship with the reporter, Jay Nakamura, he and John become romantically involved in the pages of Superman, son of Kal-El number 5, written by Tom Taylor, Dark Knights of Steel, and artist John Timms, who wrote the previous Harley Quinn. I think the reason they bring this up is because it's all happening. It all constantly happens at once, meaning that like suddenly all these characters, which had no inkling of this, these characters are supposed to be respected and treated as if they actually matter, meaning that most of these characters have 70 or 80 years of history in which none of this was there. You cannot just take them and change fundamental traits about them for the sake of modern socio-political ideology.
Well,
Or to sell. That's what they're doing it for. I mean, it's hard not to believe that way. There is so much interesting literature about, you know, ambiguous sexual preferences that is so subtle and beautiful, and it really makes you think about your own psychology and how you perceive things. What bothers me here is that we're just like,
they're shoving it down your throat.
you're shoving it down your throat, and there's no requirement for any analytical thought on the part of the rear. It's like, you are dumb. Like, we have to shove it in your face, and also, like, if we were to try and do this subtly, you would not be able to figure it out, and therefore we would not make money, so we're not going to do that.
I talk to
I
Miracle
feel like I
about
need
this
to stop
stuff all the time, where I talk about the writing, that the writers of today don't have the talent that that writers of old had. Subject matter aside, they don't know how to weave story together in a way that's actually... my favorite example is TV shows never just let you... if something happened in the past that becomes relevant in a current scene, they have to show a flashback to it in the moment.
Very annoying.
They never trust that you, the viewer, remember that incident. They have to show it to you. And this is kind of the writing version of that. They're clobbering you over the head with these stories that really... in the end, I always talk about this. In a perfect world, your race, your gender, your sexuality, all your immutable characteristics should be the least interesting thing about you.
Yeah, that's
Unless
so
they
true.
inform your story in some way. Like, this one doesn't really seem like it's advancing the Superman narrative. Like, oh, he's also dating a journalist just like his dad. Like, I guess that's kind of interesting, but you could have left it ambiguous. Like, to me, his sexual identity doesn't... and I don't... I have to be honest, I don't follow any of this. I'm just being judgmental.
Yeah.
But, like, it doesn't seem like it's relevant to the story to warrant this kind of big announcement, right? Like, if Superman was like, I don't know, lost his arm, like, that would be a permanent change forever, and it would influence the way he does his job, right?
Well, that's
Whereas-
what they did with one of the comic books where it's called Death in the Family, and it's about basically one of the Robins died, and like
One of the Robin.
well,
Keep going.
Which Robin was it? I think the newest one, or yeah, the newest Robin. Basically, he died, and like the whole comic book arc was he died, and like Batman can't handle it, and he went through a whole depression scene. So like I see
Which
what
is
you
fascinating.
yeah,
like,
which I kind of see where you're talking about, like if Superman like got his arm cut off and then magically like he's trying to heal, and this reporter somehow like helped him through it, and it happens to be a male. Like
that would be much. That would have more
Mhm.
artistry. What I mean by the arm chain,
Mhm.
like arm cut off analogy, is like
yeah.
if this will permanently influence the way the story is told, it is worth discussing, and it is worth like I would be interested in it, right?
Yeah.
Like even if it's not something that I would want for my characters, or it's I have whatever objections to it, like. All of these changes should add to the story, and in this case to me, and I don't know, but it doesn't seem like, oh, he's dating a man reporter, like really does anything for this plot that's been, like you said, building for decades. I could be wrong, I don't know, and I'm going to be honest, I will not read it.
To me, it's more like it's just like these are like it's a superhero. That's people don't pay attention to these characters. At least the original target audience, the ones who actually buy these comics, are not interested in these aspects of the stories to the point where they need to make whole statements, like announcements about their sexuality. They care about good storytelling and whether Superman actually saves the world from a supervillain.
Right.
They don't care about who they're sleeping with. That is a product of them looking to find a new target market demographic,
Right.
which is the YA and young adult audiences in an age where now an increasing amount of the population identifies with LGBTQIA. But do it with new characters. Don't do it with characters with already established identities that fly in the face of 70 years of storytelling.
Well, and also like if it's super normal and you're like, no, it's great that he is whatever way he is, like wouldn't you want your readers to discover that? Like they just like, isn't that a big spoiler? You just are like,
kinda.
by the way, he has a boyfriend. Like what the thing for me is like they didn't wait. It's not out yet, right?
It is now.
It is.
But this announcement came out before
Yep.
it was there. Like this was a media hit. Like this was to get publicity. I just like I feel like we should acknowledge that more than ever. And like I don't know, like I am not gay, but if I were, I could see it like a trivializing, like the way that like when every brand changes their sticker to rainbow during Pride Month, like don't
Only
you
in the
Unless it's their Saudi Arabian division.
sure,
Right,
but
or
don't
anywhere
you
in the
start to
East.
feel like they don't actually genuinely care about you or advancing this topic? Like if the writers at Superman were like, we need to like somehow introduce like this topic, like homosexuality into this conversation to have an interesting discussion among our readers, just the same way like writing a depression scene for Superman might be an interesting conversation about mental health. Like they didn't do it for that. They did it so that you would buy it.
They literally
did it
call
for
that-
the hype.
They literally call that queer capitalism.
I just
Like
think that's
rainbow
I
capitalism.
think that's so disgusting that
It
this is like
is.
something that we're like, no, it's because we genuinely care about you. We want you to be representation. Miracle, give me your money.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. Well, speaking about that, like writing new characters and like basically having a new story arc for them. That's what the boys did. Like they make fun of the superhero scene. Like basically Homelander, he's like their version of Superman, but the key issue about him, like he has mommy issues, and you can see it, which I love how they wrote it. But then the boys like does a lot of satire about the superhero scene, like where
Kind of like how Scream movies did it with horror.
Yeah,
it
like-
satirizes the genre.
So do you want something like that where they write like a whole new series? Because like right now, season 3 of The Boys, they're gonna have their own version of Captain America, which is the main actor for Supernatural, the older brother Dean. I forgot what his real name is. It's a
Jared Padalecki, because he's in Gilmore Girls.
Thank you. But basically
Can we do an episode about that?
Maybe.
That's the only pop culture show I know ever. I've seen
So-
it so many times.
I heard the ending was awful.
I don't
Oh.
watch the reboot. To quote you, we're getting off topic.
Yes, we are falling far off topic. But I'm gonna finish the article just because I thought this was an
We're not
interesting.
done with the article.
nope.
Well, we interject too much. It's my fault.
That's pointed at me, isn't it?
As for why Van Sciver believes these characters and many more have been changed, the Cyberfrog creator says, "My suspicion is that the reason why all of this is happening, the reason why this is a thing that is being accepted and promoted by Marvel and DC, is that there is is that there's probably a government diversity program that is actually financially rewarding them with your tax dollars.
Yeah, you were talking about it yesterday, like how Tim mentioned it. Like you told Brian about it, and Brian's like, I don't know anything about this.
What is that?
Brian's our representative from the government. Do you know about this, Brian?
Basically, is it where like they have like little currencies or like a quota?
ESG, environmental, social governance. The way that they are now vetting like your company, its stock price is tied to your a high level of ESG.
Like a social credit score.
Yeah,
It's basically a company version of a social credit score.
Brian, can you make a comment on behalf of the U.S. government? This is happening.
I would imagine
There's an
that's something to
American
do with
flag
the
patch
FTC.
on your jacket. You
I know.
must be
Show
a-
it. Show it off.
You
like-
are a cis white male. Answer for
I am
these
totally
crimes.
fine. You know what, DC, Marvel, as long as you keep peddling metal or gay porn, I'm not going to be watching any of your movies.
Aw, come on. But like speaking about like gay things, like this is why like Japan is like beating the US up, because they don't give a crap about like any social well, other than like drawing more black characters, but that's a whole different story for another day. But basically like they don't care, like they develop it like later on, like you'll find out, oh, maybe this character is gay. They're like, that's cute. But I don't know.
Don't
like,
they call that queer baiting?
well, Japan doesn't do it how like America does it, where they shove it down your face. Like they just say, "Oh, this character happens to be gay." That's it. But again, like I feel like Japan does it so well. That's why like for how many weeks was it that My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer was like #1?
That was the movie I was trying to think of yesterday. It
Oh.
was Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer?
Mugen Train.
Okay, well, Demon Slayer, I haven't watched it because like I stopped watching anime for a long time, so I'm kind of old on the topics. I still watch like news outlets for anime pop culture things, but yeah, like they don't care, and they don't care about like editing their female characters to be more appealing to females, where like they cover up.
We'll do that another. That's a whole day's
yeah,
worth
that's-
of.
I was gonna ask, like, do you feel like that's partially like Japanese creators in anime are more subtle because culturally Japan doesn't reward like companies that sort of use
No.
LGBT issues as a marketing strategy?
They don't really care, but there was a point where like Japan, like I don't know if they're still like okay with gay people, but like this one guy, I don't know if he's still on YouTube, but he is on Twitch. His name is Toph, and short for Christopher, but he calls himself Toph. And like he talks about it because he's like a gay white man from the US living in Japan, and they don't understand the whole concept of gay. They think you're transgender. So like that's how they make sense of it. They're like, "Oh, you're a gay man, that means you're actually female. That's why you like men." So like they still have that mentality, but the whole other, I'll explain the whole politics of that later. Because
That's a whole day's worth of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was just gonna
exactly.
say, like, because that could be one reason why, like, it's easier for Japanese creators to introduce this more subtly or in new characters
Well,
or however. Like, it's that, I don't know. I know I'm on a tyrant here, but like, it's
No.
because they aren't rewarded in terms of marketing. Like, how I would not have known. Personally, I would never have known any. First off, I didn't even know Superman had a son. I did not know that like there were. This is like you said, volume 5. Like I would never have known about this had this issue not come up, because I watch. I mean, for my job, but also like it's my interest. Like this, the only reason I know about this is because it became sort of a marketing blip.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, we should just be wary of whenever we use niche issues or wokeism to market. Like it's, I mean, if I were a liberal, I assume I would be like, hey, that's my thing. Like, why are you trying to make $1 off me? Because that's what they're doing. They're not supporting you. They are just trying to profit off you.
Well, there's like a whole article where this lady who was from China, she said the woke left culture, they're similar to communist China. So like we talked about it the other day, where like they slowly want to brainwash you. That's why like I feel bad for like people who identify as liberals, because they don't, like, if you do represent like
I am
argument.
still a liberal,
Oh, you are?
technically.
How liberal?
I think I'm still.
Good. Diversity in the workplace.
I think you would still consider me a classical liberal.
Really? Explain.
It's not the point of this podcast.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I feel like I was just put on the spot here.
No, I love
um,
you.
But the
You can't introduce like a bold take and then be like, no, don't ask me any follow-up questions. Okay, Jen.
Ouch. I want to finish the article because this part, it basically got done.
I want to finish this.
I've seen it happen on a smaller scale with librarians in the filmmaking industry. I think that it's happening here too. What they're saying is that, you know what Scholastic is? Like, did you have book fairs?
Yep. The publishing company.
These books, basically, like one of the ways that Marvel, DC, and these are still publishing books in an age where phones and visual media is much different, is that these books are being sent off to schools where nobody's reading them, basically. But
it's like CNN in the airports.
But the librarian gets to feel
anymore.
But the librarian gets to feel good about getting woke books in their library. So that was just his it was like kind of a half-baked take, but I did like what he was talking about because it is not hard to believe that diversity programs would would pay into these companies and be like, make more books like this and we'll give you tax dollars.
I mean, it'd be interesting to look at like the Department of Education if they give out grants, right? It's not like you get a tax credit, but there are like, oh, well, we want to have more diverse writers. We want to have more diverse representation of characters in
programs like
libraries.
that are all over.
Yeah, and so in that sense, they technically would be funding them. I just don't know. Like sometimes when you get your conspiracy voice out, and you're like, the U.S. government is paying for us to make our children.
This is why you need to watch this Netflix show. I mentioned it the other day. It's called Inside Job, and it's like so many conspiracy theories against like the government that I love it so much.
I think we should live stream Shane Cashman watching that.
Exactly. No, because like the reason why I'm talking about it, because there's one episode where they replace the actual president with a robot who gains
sentience.
Thank you. I was like, what is with the word again? But basically, it gains that, and then all of a sudden, it tries to start World War III, and then there's another conspiracy.
Sure, if you're a robot, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, but then there's another conspiracy theory with lizard people that are actually
Donald Trump.
Well, I don't know.
Just kidding. Disavow.
No, but it's funny because like that show doesn't talk about Donald Trump. Like they skip over him, but like basically like there's lizard people and they want global warming to happen. Like
that's cold.
No, like because like
isn't that why that?
Yeah, it is. But the government doesn't push like agendas to stop global warming because like that's what the contract is with like lizard people. Like if you leave human beings alone, then we can let you have a little bit more social power and
let you turn up the thermostat.
Exactly. But yeah, like I don't know, like for me, I feel like we should watch it together. I'm like on episode 6.
You just want to hang out? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is that why you asked me to be on this podcast? This has been. I don't mean like I'm not trying to end it, but like this has been really fun. I like this show.
I think we're gonna pull it shut here because if we don't, they're gonna be talking about girly stuff for the next 40 hours if we don't call
classic
it
patriarchy.
I am the
thinks I'm old, thinks he doesn't like what I'm talking about, whatever.
I am having a lot of fun, but I do worry that you're not going to get all your articles written.
Yeah, I have to go back to my other job, which is also part of this job. I don't know.
We have a lot of jobs here.
Guys, this has been really fun. Thank you so much for having me.
So yeah, no problem.
We should have more of Hannah Claire.
Sorry I just steamrolled this conversation.
She did.
Did you watch me drink this cup of coffee and then start being like, oh my gosh, and then this other thing?
Do you want to host? Tomorrow you can sit here and I will sit there and drink the coffee.
Yes, I do. But I don't want to touch the buttons. So
he's not. Well,
he's like.
Never mind. He does have the vid.
Boo-bopping around over there. I can't do it.
Okay, so before we go, I just wanted to say thank you again, both of you, for coming on for this very chaotic discussion. It was a lot of fun. So before, do you want to plug your social media, Miracle?
I don't have social media.
Classic Zoomer.
I am going to do that every time. I'm going to be like, I'm not even going to ask anyone else. I'm just going to ask her. But Hannah Claire?
I'm hannahclaire.b on Instagram and. Write in if you think I should make a Twitter because I think I maybe should.
No, it's toxic.
Yeah, but like it's where a lot of news happens.
I can't believe you don't have one.
I know. I've held out for a really long time. We could talk about it later, but like I worry about social media. But my Instagram and maybe my Twitter, if I should have one, is hannahclaire.b on Instagram. That was horrible.
Brian?
B stands for biatch.
My MySpace is
Brian's Friendster.
Brian's keeping my.
I'm at OG Helmsway. That's OG_Helmsway.
Hit him up on IM.
On Instagram.
And you can find me on AIM at. My AIM was Technical651. That was my AIM screen name with a K instead of CH on Technical.
That's very scene-like of him.
I'm not. I'm not telling any social media. So thank you for joining us today. That was a lot of fun, guys. And
awesome.
I want you guys to come back soon. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Where's our outro music? Bum 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 bum.
No outro music.
Okay.
Guys,
But-
so fun.
Yeah. But yeah, do you think Brett, like, since he had a